What's going on, everyone? So by now, I'm sure most of you are aware that JJ Redick is officially the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. He signed a 4-year deal. He's going to be making $8 million a year as the Lakers head coach. I'm personally excited about this. Obviously, there's concerns. Obviously, there's some reservations about it, but I think he'll do a good job. I think he has as good of a shot as anyone else, right? I know people wanted a guy with more experience. We've hired several guys with more experience, and it hasn't turned out great. Right? So, again, I think it's always going to be a crapshoot when you're talking about head coaches. I think JJ Redick, he has the basketball mind. I think he has the understanding, the schemes, the schematics, all the things that you want from a head coach. Just can he handle everything else that comes with it is a big concern. But one of the big things with JJ Redick and rumors that were circulating for a while, it wasn't like heavy, it was just kind of like one report and then people kind of ran with it, was that Anthony Davis did not want JJ Redick, that there were players on the roster that hated the idea of JJ Redick, and that Anthony Davis in particular didn't want JJ Redick. And I said time and time again, every time I talked about it or every time somebody brought it up, what did I say? I said, I don't believe that, because the Lakers aren't going to hire somebody that their star and their franchise cornerstone, even post LeBron James, doesn't want and doesn't stand. There have been countless reports that Anthony Davis has been very vocal and very hands-on with the coaching search and everything that's going on behind the scenes. The Lakers are doing everything to build around Anthony Davis. LeBron and Rich Paul have both heavily talked about how, hey, don't worry about us. Build around Anthony Davis, because even if LeBron does sign, which I think he will, but even if LeBron does sign, he's only going to have a couple years left. So you need to make sure you're doing everything you can to keep Anthony Davis as happy and ready to go as possible. He's your focus. So I don't believe that there was a scenario where Anthony Davis, if the Lakers hired JJ Redick, Anthony Davis wouldn't have given his blessing and okay to do so. And guess what? There are reports that Anthony Davis was vocal and said, go get JJ Redick. There are reports that Anthony Davis gave the green light, gave the blessing to hire JJ Redick, which is what I expected. All the other players don't matter. Even if the other players, let's say that that's true and the other players didn't really want JJ, they don't matter. Half the players might not even be on this roster next season, right? The only one that really matters is Anthony Davis. Who does Anthony Davis want? There were talks that he wanted James Borrego because James Borrego and him have a relationship. What did I say? How? They knew each other in passing, right? The Monty Williams news, like as soon as Monty became available, that I believe, because again, they had a relationship that they developed in New Orleans, right? Like that I understood. But Monty Williams was never going to come because again, the Lakers would have to pay him $20-25 million a year to bring him as the head coach, because he'd have to make more than he's making with Detroit, and it'd have to make sense. And then you add in the Lakers' taxes, and they were never going to get Monty Williams. So I'm sure if Monty did want to come to Lakers and it did make sense, maybe Anthony Davis would have pushed more for Monty. That I could have seen, but it was never going to happen. And I think that Monty wasn't available, and they said, do you want JJ? And he said yes, right? The James Borrego thing didn't make sense because, again, they didn't really know each other. They were like, James Borrego was there for a month before Anthony Davis. Again, it didn't make sense. Like, they would have known each other in passing. Anthony Davis went to Team USA immediately, and I don't necessarily believe those reports. But one of the big things that JJ Redick talked about heavily, and one of the reasons he landed the job, was because, according to JJ Redick, he really wants to, obviously, again, had the conversations. I'm sure he talked to Anthony Davis. I'm sure he talked to Rob Pelinka and everybody. But one of the things that JJ heavily outlined in his plan was to prioritize Anthony Davis, particularly in late games. And he wants to move LeBron James more off ball on the offense. Here's the thing, though. Now, Anthony Davis being prioritized late in games should have been a thing. It drove me crazy all season long. How many times was I screaming at the top of my lungs, what is Darvin Ham doing? How many times did Anthony Davis have 30 through 3 quarters, didn't even touch the ball in the fourth? Right? And I said, that's on your playmakers and that's on your head coach. It is on Anthony Davis to an extent because it's his job to demand the basketball and establish position and say, call out his players, call out his coach. Hey, what do you do? Give me the basketball, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to Darvin Ham. It came down to LeBron and D'Lo and all these guys to prioritize getting him the basketball. And they didn't do that. I mean, how many times do we see Darvin Ham in an interview? Well, his dumb head coach just didn't get him the basketball. It's like, okay, you're aware of it and you're still not doing it. So I really do hope JJ Redick kind of elevates Anthony Davis, as he says. Supposedly that was the word used, elevate. He really wants to elevate Anthony Davis, kind of make him, just better than he's been, which I do believe he can be. I think Anthony Davis could easily be a 30-point-a-game guy, right? And again, they want to move LeBron more off ball. That's easier said than done, right? LeBron for 6 years has talked about how he wants to play more off ball. He doesn't want the responsibilities to dominate the basketball. He doesn't want to wear himself out during the course of games. And every time, guess who has the ball in his hands? Who's dominating the basketball, especially in crunch time or at the end of games or in the fourth quarter or whatever? It's LeBron James. So is LeBron going to be willing to do so, right? Is LeBron going to be open, and which I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's talked to JJ Redick. I'm sure LeBron and JJ Redick kind of sat down and had these types of schemes. Again, they have a podcast together. They're sitting down, once a week to just hash stuff out. I'm sure LeBron relayed to JJ Redick, like, hey, dude, yes, I know I dominate the basketball. Yes, I'm on ball. But if you can run some schemes and some sets to where I can actually play more off ball, then I could see maybe potentially LeBron doing that. But again, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. Right? Supposedly last year, the Lakers were going to limit his minutes and this, that, and the other, and none of that happened. Right? Now, again, it also depends on the roster. If you have a good, the reason, the minute restriction stopped immediately was because the Lakers were terrible when he wasn't on the basketball court. Right? So if the Lakers were good, that minute restriction might have lasted a little longer. Right? So, again, it just depends on who's on the team, how the team is structured, how do they approach the offseason and kind of rounding out this roster. If they have a good enough kind of set of players that also LeBron trusts, and, they're kind of using Anthony Davis more, and JJ Redick's able to kind of unlock things and go about offensive schemes and stuff better, then I do think that maybe LeBron would be more open, be more willing. He's also talked on Mind the Game with JJ Redick about how he doesn't have it anymore and certain things that he would like to see as he moves forward to his career. So they've had these conversations. They've had these types of, I'm sure, ins and outs. I mean, they've done it on their podcast, right? So even if they haven't had hey buddy, what do you think? What do you want me to say? How do you want me to approach this? Right? I'm sure that they've had those conversations, but even just watching their podcast together, they clearly have had those conversations. So, again, I think JJ is going to do a good job. It looks like everybody bought it. It looked like, LeBron, obviously, it's his guy, but Anthony Davis obviously bought in for JJ Redick as well. I don't believe, if Anthony Davis really told Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and everybody, hey, I don't like JJ Redick. I don't want JJ Redick. I think JJ Redick would be a terrible hire. And the Lakers still signed him anyway. That's a problem. Because now you run the risk of Anthony Davis leaving or demanding a trade if things don't work out or whatever, right? I don't think that was the case. And I think that these reports that Anthony Davis gave the blessing and was totally fine with JJ being the head coach, I think are true. Because, again, the reports came out of nowhere. Right? Everything was fine. It was JJ Redick, JJ Redick, JJ Redick. Everyone was on board for JJ Redick. And then there were random reports after Dan Hurley, right? After the Dan Hurley thing, random reports that were Linda Rambis doesn't want. Who cares what Linda Rambis wants? She's not playing or coaching or doing anything. Not even really a part of the organization, right? So who cares what she wants? Secondly, Anthony Davis and all these players don't want JJ Redick, right? Okay, well, how come that's just now being reported? How come that wasn't something a month ago? And outside of Anthony Davis, who cares what anyone else wants? Right? Again, half the players probably aren't even going to be on this team. Right? And if LeBron James and Anthony Davis buy in and follow suit, all the other players will. So again, the only one that really matters is Anthony Davis and LeBron James. As long as those two guys give the green light and the blessing, then it's fine. Right? It's just, I think that all those reports were smokescreen. I mean, there were even reports that JJ Redick didn't want the job anymore and that he didn't want the circus that's the Lakers. Again, it's all just noise, right? It's all noise. What is the consensus? What is being reported heavily? What is time and time again people saying that's the same thing? They don't care if some random person gave a report. What is, even if it is somebody that's reputable, right? Woj Woj gave a report and he was completely wrong. These guys are wrong all the time. But to me, again, it's like, what's the consensus? That's why when Woj came out and said, oh, it's Dan Hurley, what did I say? It's not going to be Dan Hurley because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And we have all these other reports from all these other credible people. So Woj is the only one that's right. All these other people, got wrong information? You don't think any of these other people were talking to the same people Woj was talking to? Of course they were. Right? So again, what's the consensus? What is all the information saying? All the information said that Anthony Davis was fine with JJ Redick. It wasn't necessarily his top choice. Right? I think if Monty Williams was available, right, and really did want to come to Lakers, I do think Anthony Davis would have been pushing more for Monty because Monty Williams and Anthony Davis actually do have a relationship. But Monty Williams is not going to coach again, at least anytime soon, because he's getting an absolute bag to just chill and stay home. Again, you got to look at all the details. You got to look at all the information. So anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, this was all just, this is all just smoke? Obviously, Anthony Davis is all for bringing in JJ Redick. Do you think no? Again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.